So, boys, Chelsea sacked Graham Potter. They've brought back Frank Lampard, who seems to have more lives than a cat, and he's lost 3 matches in a row since coming back.
Yeah. It's great to have him, though, isn't it? It's all about the vibes. It's all about the vibes. You know, the atmosphere's improved. You know, the
morale.
The morale in the team has obviously got way better, and we're shooting up the league. So, you know,
mate,
what can you say?
I seen a tweet the other day of someone saying that his halftime team talk was, ask me anything about Stamford Bridge. Anything. Like, that's the idea that the whole premise of bringing him back was he knows more about Chelsea than some random. And one of the worst things that you can hear is when Richard Keys says, give it to Frank Lampard instead of Nagelsmann.
Yeah.
He knows more about Chelsea. That was
I think
really...
he's trolling us at that point, really,
no, he's
isn't
not.
he?
Richard Keys doesn't know what trolling is.
Richard Keys is from the era of like the 70s and 80s where like legacy and sentiment had way more meaning, where it was like a guy would own it because he had a factory and he was like, oh, I'm going to buy a football club as well. Yeah. The game has changed so much. So that even that idea is one of the most stupidest ideas I've ever heard. Like, I don't want Tony Adams to come manage Arsenal because he knows Arsenal.
No.
I just want a really good coach, please. And I think you've made a huge mistake in bringing back Lampard. And I'm enjoying it.
What would you have done, though, in the situation that we were in? Would you have kept Potter, or would you have...
to be honest, at that point, you keep Potter to the end of the season. There's actually no uplift that is possible. And if you don't have someone that's available, like really you want someone that's really grown, really experienced to come in and just steady the ship between now and the end of the season. So you want someone like a Ancelotti type figure, but he's not available to come and do that. If you don't have that, then what's the point in changing it for no reason?
Well, for a bit of context, apparently Luis Enrique was bummed that he didn't get the call.
Yeah.
And so
he wanted the Real Madrid game, so he wanted the first leg, and he was very clear by saying to the board, he was like, I want to come in, I want to start straight away, I'm happy to, I don't need any pre-season, I'm ready to go.
Obviously, Chelsea have took on Brighton in their last game. They conceded 26 shots at home.
Wild.
And had 8 shots themselves. It was 2-1 to Brighton. Mason Mount is brought on for the junk minutes towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
And you have scenes where Todd Boehly is arguing with fans in the stand. He actually apparently entered the locker room at the end of the game and spent about an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, the 2 controlling owners both went in there, yeah.
I wonder what was said. What do you think?
What, in the dressing room?
Yeah.
It's like, I suppose like you could argue like it's sort of like buck your ideas up, but I feel like we're almost like past that point now. Like there's only so much sort of like shouting.
Todd. What are you going to do?
There's only like
paying me off.
Yeah.
There's only like so much shouting you can physically do with these guys. I just think their confidence is just absolutely just battered.
He's Americanizing them. He thinks this is like the moment.
Is it Ted Lasso? Does he go in with Ted Lasso?
The game is about inches.
Any given Sunday. Any given Sunday speech.
It's one of those things now where it's like you lose Potter, and the reason why you lose Potter is maybe because it's a motivational point. And you bring in Frank because he cares about the club. He wants to drive the players forward. He's maybe going to play a few more of the academy boys, a few more of the guys that have been there from the get-go, and maybe even some of the players that have been outcasted by Potter, like a Ziyech, who maybe gets a second chance, right?
Well, honestly, yeah.
It
pains me to say this, yeah, but I would have much preferred, I think it would have been much better if they brought in John Terry.
No,
can I tell you why, yeah?
No.
Because the fact that
Marvin, of all the things, I didn't expect Marvin to come out. John Terry should be given a job in football.
I can't stand it. But the fact is, yeah, that he was available. Yeah. If you're talking about someone just to get you from there to there, bringing back Lampard has so much weight to it. Yeah. It has so much meaning because he's actually done a terrible job at Everton also. He never really did great at Derby in the first place. But at least with Terry, it's like a complete unknown.
That's harsh.
Yeah,
That was harsh.
What, missing out on the play?
It's harsh. It's harsh.
Out on the
first job.
Let's talk Lampard after this.
Yeah,
I definitely think we need to talk about what impact this is going to have on his career. But just to go back to fresh faces and all of that, when you're looking at the starting lineup, Barry Shield, Chilwell, Fofana, Chalobah in the back 4. You've got Zakaria, Fernandez in the middle, Pulisic, Gallagher, and Mudryk, and Raheem Sterling up front.
Random.
And it does feel, I mean, seeing Pulisic and people like that still playing, we had this
James on the bench
a while back where I was like, why are you trying to accommodate so many faces who are clearly going to be leaving at the end of the season? Focus on the people who do want to be here.
Yeah.
I think Lampard's done that a little bit.
We desperately need to just do that now. We need to identify the players, because I think at the moment there's a bit of we're not quite sure who's going to be the 8 players that go, because quite frankly it's got to be a minimum of 8 players. It is simple as that. We've got 33 first team players, and that's not even including the academy boys like Lewis Hall, who are knocking on the door and should be up there. So we need to just do that, and we're not identifying those players. So it's just a really, really scary time. And what seems to be happening with whoever we have at the moment, and Tuchel had this problem, and quite frankly, raised his concerns at the time, just said I can't manage a squad of 33 people. I just can't physically do it. It's just impossible. Who can actually keep 33 people happy?
3 first 11s. It's absurd.
You've seen it. We're playing Sterling as a false 9. I don't think Sterling would be a good false 9 in the Man City team right now, with coached by Pep Guardiola.
No.
So let alone in this team, which is dysfunctional. So he got booed off as well, which is just
Can we talk about Raheem Sterling?
serious?
Because I have made a note about him, because I do think it's interesting, because for years on the kickoff I did say not that he was a bad player, but that he was overrated with overinflated numbers due to the brilliant players around him at Man City.
Yeah.
And I know that's a fairly big statement, but equally he's getting paid more right now than Harry Kane, Bruno Fernandes, Van Dijk. His average in the last 4 seasons of goals in the Premier League is 50 in a season. He's currently on 4. Has he been found out?
No.
I don't think he has. I think he's still a quality player, and I think he's probably one of our better technical players. I know he had an injury in the middle of the season as well, which definitely sort of
We're talking 4 goals in
20, but he's not worth
4 goals in 22 games.
He's not worth more than Harry Kane. He's not worth more than Bruno Fernandes. It's as simple as that. But he is one of our better wingers.
But the problem is the trajectory of his career means, so you can't just say because he's on 375,000 a week, it's comparable.
Yeah.
He has been at big clubs since he was 17 years old and playing and starting since 17 years old, which is why these contracts have got him to this particular point. But this is what I said to you last time when we was on the show, is he will out-earn himself of the Premier League really soon. Because where do you go from here, from free? Who's going to pay £400,000 a week for him?
Yeah.
No one. So he would have to go abroad. He'll end up ending his career somewhere probably in the Middle East or in the US. And I think this very bad season that he's having with Chelsea is going to impact him, because in the restructure, they're going to look at it and think it's high wages, low output. Where do you fit? Does the manager fancy you? You don't even know who the manager is yet. So he could find himself out of Chelsea, and where on earth does he go from here?
We can't sell him.
I think the Raheem Sterling thing will be harsh looking at his numbers this season, purely because of the mess that is Chelsea at the moment. It's hard to kind of judge. We said it about Marcus Rashford for years. Why is he not, fulfilling his potential, putting up the numbers? We've seen a good manager come in, a bit of stability, and then you can see what that can produce for a player. I think Sterling we know he was around better players at Man City. He was with Pep. They were winning everything. So obviously he's going to do well there. But I don't think this season is the right season to judge him at Chelsea, just purely because of the mess that is happening over there. Dropping managers, players coming in. Look at Mount. Mount a year ago, we couldn't even fathom him leaving Chelsea. Now it's is he going to be there? What's going on?
Doesn't fit in.
So I can't really, if you had to pick a Chelsea player right now as a Chelsea fan that has really shone this season, who would you say it is?
I honestly couldn't name. I honestly couldn't name any player that I'm particularly happy with.
It probably would have been Thiago Silva before he got injured.
Yeah.
But
who's your top goal scorer?
I honestly, it's been so low. I honestly don't.
Doesn't even know.
I honestly don't.
Oh my God! You don't even know who it is?
No.
It's probably.
We don't know. It's Kai Havertz.
I don't know. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Kai Havertz
How many goals though?
He's got 9 in all comps. And
Horrible.
Sterling, Sterling has 7 in all comps. And crazily, Mason Mount is third on 3.
Wow.
Yeah. Mudryk has got
the third is 3.
Mudryk has got the most assists for Chelsea. He's got 2.
Wow.
This is a bad season.
It's a really bad season. But this is what you were saying. This is what you're saying though. There's no players that immediately stand out, and so Sterling being judged right now is not fair.
Yeah, that's how I see it. I don't think anyone's played well.
If I'm picking the starting 11 right now of our best 11, he's in that starting 11.
But I think we should judge the players though, because
the team.
Because look what's happening. You've got rid of a manager, right, Potter. You've brought in Lampard. and there hasn't been any sort of bounce whatsoever.
No.
And these are very, very good players. We know managers need to implement a system. We know they need to put their philosophies on them. But at the end of the day, if they're conceding 26 shots against Brighton and then only offering 8 with the quality of players you have, that's down to them as well and their motivation. They're clearly not stepping up to the plate.
Yeah.
Seeing what's happened now under Lampard, you can see that it wasn't totally Potter's fault. Like, he has to take a bit of a blame, but the players they're just not stepping up.
Okay.
And like week after week after week, I'm going there and I'm booing defeats. And rightly so, because it's the players, and the players need to understand that it's just not been good enough. Like, they're nowhere near Chelsea standard. Like, I've been going for years. Like, I've never seen a team play this poorly.
It feels like Boehly going and arguing with the fans, then trying to go into the changing room to give these people like a speech of some sort. That's not your role. It also wasn't your role to sign Cucurella against the wishes of a top manager that you had at the time. Like, I don't think he understands. Like, your role is in the boardroom. The football men decide on the transfers. The manager decides who plays. Stay the fuck out of the fact that he just has no boundaries and doesn't know how to keep hands off.
Yeah.
I think he'll learn that the hard way.
Do you know what though? Like, I think what I like about that is that he obviously cares. Like, I've seen lots and lots of owners of different clubs that just don't give a fuck. Like, you had it with Ashley. Like,
Do you know that
I
Ashley
would much rather.
But why is that not ego though? Why is that care and not ego? What's the difference?
Like, I would much rather have a board of directors that are like completely invested in the club so much that they care. They're there every week. Like, imagine like going to your club and the owner's just never there. That happens to so many different teams.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
It doesn't really, honestly, it never moved me before. It was a big thing about Arsenal that you don't come to our games or you're not here for our final. And I'm just like, all the football operations are inside the club and they're all present. And I think this, again, we go back to this idea of like a 90s owner of like Doug Ellis in the stands being like, come on lads, and we motivated now. Like, it's just absurd. Like, we don't need the owner in the stadium to perform. You need the football operations team to be on point. And the thing that we always overlook when we talk about Man City is their whole club and their whole, as a company, is organized as hell. This is not an operation where it's just like Pep, players, and he does all the magic in the background. There's a system.
Yeah, and when I look at Boehly, all right, he cares, but he's also... He doesn't know his role and he doesn't seem switched on to how to run a football club to me.
They seem like owners that love the limelight.
Yeah, he's
kind
not
of.
professional.
They want to be brands themselves.
He has a Twitter account that he uses.
Yeah.
Oh, does he?
And goes to Twitter
See, there you go.
And
That's
people are asking
it's
him,
ego. It is ego.
When a fan asks you, how was that? And he's like, fucking shit, mate. Like, it's not professional. You're not giving off like Roman Abramovich vibes here.
Yeah.
It's an American thing, though, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to... Obviously, there are American owners. We've seen it with, like, the Fenway Group and stuff, and they're a bit more low-key, but it does seem like an American thing. Like, even when you watch, like... documentaries and shows about how like the Lakers were ran and stuff like that. They're always these kind of hotshot owners that are a bit flashy and